Let's do something that worship leaders never are. Start early. Arrive early. I'm totally kidding. Sorry. Hey everybody, I'm really grateful to be here for a couple of reasons. First of all, I suppose introductions would be right. My name is Grayson. I'm the Director of Worship and Creative Arts at Watford City. I work with Pastor Sheldon McGorman there, and just love the community and just love the area and what it's all about. A couple things first, though, that I just wanted to take a quick note of, and that is being here in the preschool auditorium. Here's how you know that Evangel is doing it right. And that is I'm kind of an observer. So if you look, kind of see with me here, do you see the finger streaks? The nose print somewhere over here I saw. See that right there? No. Huh? That's good church right there. That's good preschool church right there. And you know it's doing right. I've been in church life for a long time. My father was a minister. If your preschool areas aren't messy, they're not doing it right. They're not doing it right. Because kids aren't extremely clean. Neither some of my teenage sons. So that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, again, my name is Grayson Long. You may find this unique, but there's a good chance I have sung in your churches. Stunning, scary, and somewhat disconcerting, I understand. My father was an Assemblies of God evangelist with the AG in South Dakota, went to Trinity Bible College, and we traveled, like Jacob actually, and his family, all of our years. So my dad would speak, the Long family would come and sing, and like the Partridge family, we traveled in a bus. Many of you don't know who the Partridge family is, that's okay, just didn't have a multicolored bus. And probably almost every church, AG church in North Dakota, he was an ordained guy for many, many years. So had the joy of that. Some of the newer, obviously, churches and plants, no, but a great, great history there, and just kind of excited to be a part of this. I'm really honored for the network to have a worship-focused session. I'm glad they have vision for this, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the kind of first time to have an actual breakout session. I know this is a new configuration like this. So all that to say, and by the way, if that's not true, don't tell me because I feel really good. But anyway, great to be here. I just wanted to do a couple of quick things. Grew up in a Christian family. My father was an ordained minister, traveled from there. I went to Trinity Bible College in Ellendale those days. My parents attended Hub City Bible Institute. Do you know where that is and what that is? Okay, that's Trinity Bible College when it first started in Aberdeen in a church. And so that's where my parents went to. Yeah. That was a more scriptural name. If you're not familiar with where Hub City is in Scripture, you'll find that reference in the Hezekiah 3:9. And if you find a book called Hezekiah 3:9, let's have a conversation afterwards. It was called Hub City because Aberdeen was simply the hub of all the trains. That's why it was called Hub City Bible Institute. So then it moved on, Jamestown, and of course where we are today in Ellendale. So I want to just quickly mention and answer a question that's posed right here straight away. I just get this right out the gate. Are we more than just unusual fashion choices and boutique coffee drinks? This is going to be pretty obvious, right? I mean, we get that this is, the answer is no. So if we just can collect our things and we can just head out, I think this will be the shortest session. Is that the shortest session? So, okay, then we've hit a record here. No, I'm kidding here. While I'm just kind of starting this off, I want to say this at the end. I do want to take a little, what I call a Q time. I don't have a Q&A time, because there's a good chance I might not have the answers. Right? All these sessions have Q&As. I go, if we have some time, we'll take some Q's, because I don't know if I'm going to have the answers. But together, I think collectively, we'll probably have some ideas and thoughts that will help all of us, right? So I'm here to share a few things. It's going to be an amalgam of many things that I've heard throughout the years. All this isn't original, so let me just say that. It's like a gumbo when I lived in the Gulf Coast in Mobile, Alabama for 7 years. Everything that I've kind of heard and collected and seen and been influenced by, put that in the big pot, we just kind of boil it and add this and that, some of my own, some of others. And I hope some of y'all, because I need to learn. I need to, how can I do this thing that I've been called to do? Not just better for the proficiency's sake of being more technically proficient, although that's part of it, but how can I reflect the goodness of God to the people each and every day that they're in that room? That's ultimately what we want to do. Now, one more quick confession for you. They say it's kind of a scary thing. I'm going to make a confession, and I mean this. Well, I'll just let the screen take care of it. You can see that. And I'll tell you why. I specifically love to do this. Now, first you go, Grayson, that's offensive to me. What in the world? What? Well, it's actually a term of endearment. I have two brothers, older and younger. I'm in the middle, you could probably tell. I can call them a bumbling idiot, and that's great. If you call them a bumbling idiot, we'll step outside and settle this, right? So I mean, the ones that I love, you kind of have this good-natured ribbing for, right? Same thing here. I am so a huge fan of worship leaders, because all of us that do it, maybe you've done it for many years, maybe you've done it many weeks, maybe you're going to give it a shot this weekend. But we're all in a spot and a place of reflecting, again, the goodness of God, not the goodness of us, not our skill set, not our proficiencies, but the goodness of God to the people. An encounter with us, let me restate, an encounter with me is going to do you no good. No good. I'm just being real transparent. No good. If for some reason, somehow, there's an encounter with God, then everything changes, right? That's the linchpin. Now everything changes. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm nowhere near what God can do. So that's kind of the thing. We're going to reflect the goodness of God. So, again, I say I like to, make fun of us. But we're kind of the low-hanging fruit in many occasions, right? But I do like this. I make fun of worship leaders like skinny jeans. I'm a worship leader. I really hold it close. I love to do that. With the right pair of toms, a Taylor guitar. Really, anyone can lead worship. To the most part, there's that dotted eighth delay that really saves us. Am I right? Come on. It's that dotted eighth delay that really brings it home. If we can hit that. One last thing here I just want to say, and we'll jump into what I'm talking about. But how can you tell the difference and know that you're in a modern worship service? Well, it's when you can't tell for sure if the worship leader is singing about God or their significant other in the set list. Oh, I run into your arms, I run into your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. And when I'm just with my wife in the room, I just go, baby. Yeah? Right? You just throw that right in there. For all us married folk, and let's not even get me started with a sloppy wet kiss. I'm not going to go there today. But what I do want to talk a little bit about today is what worship leaders are and do, and what they aren't and do not do. Right? There's many layers to this. I'm just going to scratch a little bit of the surface. So again, as we kind of go together here, and interrupt me. I'm not one of these guys that's like, all right, we're going to do a 23-second question time at the end, and hey, if you say, hey, that sounds good, that doesn't sound good, or why did the district have you speak this week? That also is a good question. I'm still asking my own self. Okay, so let's just jump in here. I'm going to start with what we don't do or who we aren't. This is for worship leaders. We are not cheerleaders. We're not cheerleaders. Okay? I love cheerleaders. I love going to our Watford City Wolves high school games and prep school games, and this crew comes out and they're energetic and they're enthusiastic. But their goal is to have a quick momentary response. Go, fight, let's go team. And yeah, we're all in it for that moment. And it's great. I'm not anti-cheerleader. I want to say this from the very onset. But we're not these people. Although I do love the Spartans. Tip of the hat to Will Ferrell and Anna Gasteyer. Worship leaders, the difference between that and a cheerleader, and what things that we are charged with helping to teach an example of worship as more of a lifelong pursuit. A cheerleader needs that moment. Okay? Again, please, love cheerleaders probably call it. This is really not good. Love cheerleaders. But what we don't cheerlead. That's not why we were here. It's not why your leadership team probably brought you in. If so, we'd probably wear this outfit then every Sunday if we were brought to be cheerleaders, right? We are trying to give a lifelong pursuit and not just a momentary engagement. And a little secondary to this can be more powerfully modeled oftentimes off of the platform than on it. More off the platform than on it. Right? There are 1,000,001 better singers than me. There are 1,000,000,001 better musicians than me, because I'm not a musician, I'm a drum player. Sorry, I'm kidding. But I play drums. So it's it's hard to lead worship from the drum set. Not impossible. When I was in Colorado Springs, my wife and I, the wonderful gentleman there led from the drums. But as a general rule, it's a little more challenging. You don't see it a lot. But the ability to speak into people's lives about that heart and that focus of worship oftentimes comes when we're off the stage and not on it in that one-on-one personal engagement with your church people, right? It's your church people, and by the way, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, don't shield yourself from the congregation. You have a ministry and a focus, and you need to keep yourselves in tune with that, and I get that. Some of us have teams, some of us have ourselves. Everybody should in a different spot, right? We're all in a different spot. But don't sequester yourself so much that you're in a separate place than they are. Because we're not. Actually, we're all church members. Takes a little bit of luster off of it, right? Hey, I'm a church member. I'm the worship leader. I am the so-and-so musician. We're all church members, right? We're a member of this church. We're a member of this body. So we want to make sure that we are engaging with other church members. All right, so we aren't church leaders. We're not cheerleaders, excuse me. And we're also not rock stars. This one's probably pretty obvious, right? Skinny jeans and my man bun aside. I used to wear skinny jeans when I was 14, and I could fit them. And I heard this, by the way, I told this is kind of an amalgam of many things that I've heard, and this was a great one from Leading Worship Well as a new organization. And this is where they're going to. They said that you are indeed a church member, like I referenced. Now again, I know that might not be quite as exciting as the worship leader or the person of this particular place. But we, like so many others in the church, are just that. The church members. The Bible in 1 Corinthians 12 speaks to this. One body, many members. Okay. Right? No one here is in a higher place of estate and esteem in the body, right? That's why your foot's not going to say to your hand, I'm more important, your head to your soul. Everything is necessary to function. Everything is necessary. In fact, I would would dare say, for the church member concept, that if I said to my church, that's it, I'm done, we'll see how you guys are surviving when I come back in 8 weeks. Or, if our facilities team said the same thing. And now, bathrooms haven't been cleaned or touched or looked at. There's garbage in the church. It's getting waist high. Who would they like to have there more often than the worship guy or girl? The facilities people. I would. I'm not going to go to this church and shovel my way through to find a seat. They are so wonderful and they are so valuable to your church. Church members. We are all church members and members of the body. So it's very, very important, right? We're not a rock star. And also, just to clarify, as far as the dressing, I honestly don't care if you have tattoos or if you wear your hair or your shirt. I mean, there are certain things we have as guidelines, mind you, but however you feel stylistically, that's fine with me. I don't get real hung up on that too often. Modesty for men and women, of course, and all those types of things, of course, is part of it. But as far as I like red, green, blue, I put my hair like this. But talking about rock star mentality. So, we're not cheerleaders. We are not rock stars. This one's also kind of an interesting one that we don't do and that we aren't, before we go to things that we are. We do not make things happen. It is not our job to do what only God can. Again, skilled musicians, vocalists, tech people, lighting, there's a million of them better than I am. Millions. So if it's simply the technical proficiencies, that can be remedied by hiring the best. Make a budget line in each of your churches and find the most gifted, talented musicians and singers in your city and put them up there. It'll be better than what I'm doing. Technically. Way better. You will find way better singers and musicians than me in the town and the surrounding areas. Pay them and put them up there, if that's all you're looking for. But this is why it helps kind of void ourselves of the idea that we make things happen. We don't. Again, not our job to do what only God can. We often can feel a self-imposed, innate need to make something happen during the services. And the larger the room, the seemingly more pressure there is to perform or make a moment happen. I worked at Integrity Music for 7 years. It's kind of a worship label. I was the director of national promotions and the director of marketing during those 7 years. And I got a chance to work with some really wonderful worship artists. Really great people, have massive platforms. So, that sounds wordy trying to name drop. I don't want to do that. Just in your churches, if you've probably seen these people, whether it be Paul Blosslick and Brewster, Rent Collective, Carrie Job, Gateway Worship, we did Hillsong, right? Wonderful, by the way. Great people. One of the people that I got to work with when I first got there was in the marketing department. His name was Stephen Brewster. And he made a great quote that I'm going to have up here that I like to use and reference, actually. And it kind of talks about some of the role that we have and what our kind of portion of this is. And here's his quote. We are responsible for stewardship and effort, and God is responsible for the results. You've probably heard this old phrase, and it's been around a long time. We pray as if it's up, we work as if it's up to us, and pray as if it's up to God. I like that. We do want to give our best. And when I I say you can find better people, yes, they'll be better in those skill sets than me for sure. But that doesn't void us, I should say, of trying to do our best, technically, proficiently. Another little quick thing here, especially for those that, how many of you here have more than just one person in your worship team? Okay, so we're all, there's more, okay? Because some of us don't. By the way, the vast majority of us, some of us have got churches in our state, are under 100 people. The majority. This room in this church is an aberration. It's an aberration. It's a wonderful aberration, and I love it. But if you're in a church over 100, not only is it an aberration in North Dakota, it's an aberration for the Assemblies of God nationwide. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, when you're leading people, one of the things that I like to tell my team fairly regularly, and it's so important. If you have teams or whatever, the very first person and the very first humans of your church that are going to be representing your church is not your lead pastor, it's not your executive pastor, it's not your children's pastor or your youth pastor. It's you. It's you. The very first, now you may have countdown timers, worship bumpers, and all those things that are happening before you get up there, but you're the first ones up there. It's us. So, is our hearts in a great place? Are we reflecting? Are we interacting together well? Right? Hey, if your drummer hates your keyboardist, that's going to reflect itself up on the platform. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. And it just is what it is. Now, hopefully that's not the case, but sometimes these interactions, how good it is, brothers, when we dwell together in unity. It's like oil flowing down on the beard of Aaron onto the collar of his robes, is actually the theme verse that I use for our team. It's not praise him with the cymbals, the loud sounding cymbals, or make a joyful noise, shout to the Lord. All those things are wonderful. But if every single one of us wished the other one would drop off the planet, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do everything that you can to foster the unity within your own team. That's a little different for every one of you, so I don't have like a formula for you. Right? Everybody works differently. But if there is dissension, on a personal note, have you ever, I remember when I was younger, I'd go visit a friend's house, or maybe I've never been before, and I would walk into the house. No one ever said anything to me crossly. No one ever just, hey, what are you doing here? But I've been with my buddy, and I'm in that house, and there was a tension in that house, extremely palpable. No one said, we're fighting right now, we're at odds, we hate each other, what are you doing here? None of that was ever said to me. You could sense it. You could feel the spirit that was in that house, that disharmony. No one needed to make an announcement. No one needed to text me. We didn't have text back in those days. It's been a note, I guess. But we've been in these situations, right? You can just feel the tension. That will scuttle your ship as a worship team leader more than anything else. Disunity. One more quick thing on this. When I talk about this unity, I'm talking about your overall arching, defaulting to one another in those moments of tension. And as a leader, we both need to lead and check ego. Okay? I'm the main person, so do it. I wish you well. We'll see how that works for you. But if there's a unity that you are fostering in your team, then I spoke with a group of worship leaders the other day. It was great to hang with them. I always get so much. I'm probably going to incorporate some of what we said here today, so I'm going to plagiarize from you all. But if they know, if your team knows, I love you and I want the best for you, then they'll probably be a little more likely to receive whatever information, even if it's a correction, not criticism. They don't criticize our teams. I'm kind of landing this for a while. We don't criticize our teams, ever. In the room or at home. Don't criticize them. Correct them. And there's a difference. And the spirit, right, like that tension in that room was your friend's house, whoa, it just feels really bad in here. I want to get out of here. That's what we don't want to have fostering within our groups. So, it's our theme verse. In fact, when I started there in 2018 at WCAG, I've used it as my theme verse and I've never changed it. I send it out once a year. And I just try to remind her how good it is when we can gather together in unity. Because it's like oil flowing down Aaron's beard into the collar of his robes. We kind of go, oil, okay, big deal. But in that time and season, oil was precious, right? When I was talking about WD-40 or 5W30 that you put into your Buick, we're talking about very precious, it's a precious commodity, right? That's how wonderful unity is. And if our pastors here, even at your church at large, you know what disunity does, let alone in your worship teams. So, we are responsible for the stewardship of this wonderful thing that we've been charged with, and the effort. We want to give our best effort, right? We're not called to slack off, but ultimately, God is responsible for the results. And then the last one for what we don't do, and I'm going to try to run through these things here, is this one. We do not worship liars. I'm liking that you're all looking at me like my dog does when he doesn't understand a command. Yep. Go get the ball. Tilts his head. He doesn't understand what I'm talking about, right? Here's what I mean by this. Well, of course, Grayson. Of course we don't worship liars. I'm sorry to disappoint each and every one of you. But I want you to do me a little favor. I want you to look around this room. Just look at everybody. Just take a quick glance. It's okay? You are sitting in a room full of liars. That's not me saying it. This is not me saying it. This is Paul. Okay. Well, we're every person. Only God is true. Period. There's no wiggle room here. There's no, well, yeah, but I'm pretty good. Okay, no. Only God is true. And so why do I say we don't worship liars? I say it for a little bit of that shock value effect, but also to the statement of sometimes we will go, and we might call it worship, but all I listen to is person X worship leader because, man, they are the best and there's nobody better. Okay? No, they may be wonderful, and by the way, I've worked with many of them. Wonderful people who also happen to lie on occasion. Maybe not with great intention for damage, but in this body of flesh, Paul says, the things that I want to do, I do not. The things I don't want to do, I do. Who can deliver me from this wretched body of flesh? Oh, wretched man am I, right? So what he's saying here is, I need the grace and mercy that's granted to me every morning that he says I have, because I can't do it in my flesh, because I don't have that perfection, and only God is true. So it's not, and by the way, I'm very pro trying to call and harvest. And by the way, do I have some favorites that I like to listen to? Yeah, I sure do. Absolutely. I love how they approach worship. I love how they approach discipleship. I love how they approach engagements with their team and relationships. And I might pull 70% of what I like from them. But I can never get to that point and place where sometimes it's like, Okay, all these other people, and then, boop, here's what this person is. They're somehow amazingly more deserving, or more godly, and less, and everybody else is not. And sometimes we can make our own idols. We can. These artists are the best. This person can do it better. Always appreciate their skills and gifts. This is what I learned. Always appreciate their skills and gifts, because these are gifts that God has given us. This is what the gifts God has given you, because you're all leading people, right? I'm assuming most of us are, maybe not, but most of us are leading people, right? Those are amazing gifts. Hey, by the way, again, I'm a drummer, so if you're probably all better than I am in instrumentation.